Welcome back, podcast listeners. Thank you for joining us again for another episode. I am very excited to introduce someone who I can attest to being an excellent cook. I have had lots and lots of food at his house, and he knows how to make some mean food, especially, well, I'll let him introduce his favorite. I won't give it away. Thank you for joining us, Sam.
Yes, thanks for having me, Bess. And I don't know if I agree with all that you said. I think you're over dramatizing everything.
No, I'm not known for that at all.
But we have shared lots of great meals together and lots of good fellowship. So,
okay, tell us you do lots of great menus, but tell us one of your favorite menus that you serve your family, and also that you think first of when you're inviting a group of people over.
Okay, so years ago, this is probably over 10 years ago, probably more than that. I came across a recipe called perfect pulled pork. So the pulled pork is the shoulder of the pork, and the reason I chose this to mention on your podcast is because it's so easy and it feeds so many people, and it's usually inexpensive when you catch it at a good price. So
then it makes it very affordable if you're having a large group of people over. And most of the time that I've had this at his house, he has probably at least 20 people here.
Oh yeah,
maybe more.
You can serve. A lot of times, if you need more, you just grab another one. I've served up to 4 before at like school events, and I think you were there at the Valentine's banquet one time at Veritas years ago.
Yes.
I think I might have cooked 6 of these.
Oh wow!
And it's no harder to cook 4 than it is to cook 2. So
do you cook them all in the same one oven? Regular size oven.
Usually, as long as you have a large oven, you can just put in a pan. I usually get one of those big metal tin serving pans and just put 2 of the pulled pork side by side.
And those pans you can find at Walmart or Target, the warehouse clubs like Sam's Club or Costco. Definitely.
And then if you need 4, you just put 2 more in another pan and put it in the oven. As long as the oven will hold it. If not, then you might have to, cook them separately. That might take a little longer, but it's almost a set it and forget it recipe. So that's what I like about it.
Wow. So obviously this is a slow cooked recipe. When do you start?
Okay.
How soon do you start before it needs to be served?
So the recipe has a dry rub, and I like to make this in bulk. And it has like a tablespoon of, let's see here, 4, 6, about 8 different seasonings. And you mix this. I mix this in a large bowl. I have a little shaker I put it in. And I usually mix this up way ahead of time and just keep it on hand. But you can do it for each individual time you make it if you want. But I just make this and use it when it'll be ready every time I need it. The recipe actually called for brining the pulled pork or the pork shoulder. However, I have done it brined and I have done it unbrined. And the brining takes a lot longer, and I did not find that it added any taste or moisture to the meat, so therefore I have pretty much removed that.
Really?
Yeah. So the pork shoulder is a very fatty piece of meat, so it really doesn't need to add any moisture. So I guess if you were doing a different cut of pork that maybe be drier. I know when I've done turkeys in the past, I have brined them because turkey is a low-fat meat and it can dry easily. So if I'm smoking a turkey, then I'll brine it usually. And that's easy. Just get a pickle bucket and put it in there with some, a mixture of salt and some sugar, and if you want some seasonings. But yeah, so I guess to get back to answering your question, I do it the night before. Okay. So all I do is I get the pulled pork or the pork shoulder out of the package. It kind of has, it's sitting in the fat and things. So I usually rinse it off, and I pull out lots of paper towels, or I work at the hospital, and they have these the hospital towels that you suture people with, and you do in surgery. So I usually have a stack of those, and I just usually pat it dry. I get a pan, and I put all my seasonings kind of on the bottom of the pan, or cover the bottom of the pan.
These are clean towels.
Yes,
not used from the hospital.
Unused or sterilized towels.
Sterilized towels.
But usually it's paper towels. It's just easy. You just throw them away because they're nasty. These towels are going to be nasty with raw meat. And then you just get a pan. It's usually the pan I'm gonna cook in, but sometimes it's not. It just depends. But I just put the seasoning on the bottom. I toss it in that, and make sure you cover the entire pork shoulder. And then you put the oven on preheat at 225, and you just put it in the oven the night before, and you wake up and it's done.
Wow.
So if I was going to cook it like for the next night, maybe you would put it on that morning. And so I found that as long as you're cooking it for about 10 hours or so, 10 to 12 hours, it has enough time to break down that meat. You can use a digital thermometer and put that in the meat and let it get to, I can't remember the internal temperature. I think it's 200 degrees. And then you can just let it sit in the oven. Just turn the oven off and let it get down to 170 if you want to be real technical. But you know how it is with most recipes. You do it so many times. You really, it becomes second nature where you don't have to follow all those technicalities. At first, I was brining. I was watching temperatures. And now I just kind of learned that, okay, if I cook it 10 hours, then this will be good.
It's going to fall apart and melt in your mouth. It'll be amazing.
Yep.
It's delicious.
Then, I guess let's kind of go back before even the cooking process. Really finding these on sale is the key if you're really into money saving, or if you're doing a big event. A lot of times you can find these under $1 a pound.
Wow.
And they usually come in about 12 pound, 14 pound if you want to get a larger one.
Where do you typically shop to find this?
Yeah, you can buy these at one of your larger stores like Sam's Club in a 2-pack a lot of times. But just the grocery stores, just find them when they're on sale. You can buy 2 or 3 of them and throw them in your freezer if you want to.
And they're called pork shoulder?
Yeah, pork shoulder. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's called, it's also called the pork butt. Okay. I have no idea how that got the name.
How a shoulder is the same thing as a pork butt.
Maybe it looks like a rump. It is a kind of a rounded chunk of meat, and it does have a bone in it, and it's the shoulder blade, so you have like the scapula. It's like a winged bone, and it's done when you can just pull that bone right out. So when the meat just falls off that bone, it's done. So it's easy. That's the measuring tool.
That's a great tip.
So buying these is on sale. Usually you can find these on sale, 90 cents a pound. You spend $8 to $12 a pulled pork, and this, I would say, one pulled pork is going to feed approximately 8-10 people, maybe even more. And on volume, just think about, you're going to lose about a third of the weight in like fat and the bone and waste. So if you have a 12-pound piece of meat, you can expect to have about 8 pounds of serving meat. And then I always calculate about a third of a pound to half a pound, depending if you're serving teenagers or grown adults, per pound. So you kind of think, oh, well, that's a third of a pound, 8 pounds. Well, that's going to be 24. Well, you're going to have to some waste and stuff like that. So I don't know. Teenagers are what I've been serving for years at the house. So usually it comes out to about, if I have 8 pounds, it's going to be about 8 people or less.
Because teenagers can eat a lot, and they definitely are coming back for seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
What do you serve with this?
So I guess the question is how I serve it. So there's 2 ways I serve it. So if it's something quick and easy, and I guess it depends on the event. If it's quick and easy, then I do just pulled pork sandwiches. So just buy some buns, have some good barbecue sauce. You're going to make your own, go do it. And then I get coleslaw. So just buy some chopped cabbage, make your own coleslaw mix, or buy a packaged one, mix it together, and serve some coleslaw with it. That's easy. If you want just chips to go with it, a bag of chips, or have that with the coleslaw. But that's how we usually do it. We just have coleslaw. And I like to put the coleslaw on the meat, so like a little on the bun. So have the bun, a little meat, barbecue sauce, a little coleslaw, and then the top bun. And I really like that.
And to prep the meat for that, do you shred it once it's fall apart tender? Are you taking 2 forks and shredding it? Yeah.
So when that comes out of the oven, you're going to have a layer of fat on the top, and I'll scrape that off. And then it should be so tender that you get 2 forks and you just separate it out. Then it should be easy to serve, just like with some tongs or 2 forks, and people can serve it. The second way we do it, and it just depends on the event, so a lot of times we'll do this together. Like we'll just give the option to people, but we do pulled pork tacos with it. So just some corn tortillas and have like a taco bar type thing with all the toppings, cilantros, maybe some diced onion and diced jalapeno. And, a little secret we do is a little mango salsa. That's really takes it up a notch. Maybe some of your little favorite taco sauces or something. So some open face pulled pork tacos. They're really easy. Gets a lot of variety in there because, you get tired of just pulled pork sandwiches, and
sure,
you can throw some tacos into it.
And that mango salsa, you can make your own if mangoes are in season, which is delicious. But I have found jarred mango salsa that's fairly good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, they usually have that at Sam's Club. Mango salsa. It's really, I really like it a lot, and it has cilantro in it, and it has some jalapenos and onions. I'm sure there's other brands out there. The other thing we've used, I've seen, is I think it's the Paste brand, like Paste pecani sauce, but they make a pineapple, maybe it's a pineapple mango or something. It's a little sweeter. I don't really prefer that as much, but it is available. I've seen
that may be available year round. I know the one from Sam's Club, which is similar to Costco for those who aren't around a Sam's Club. That one is seasonal because it's in the refrigerated section, and it's not there year round from what I've found. But the jarred one, like you're talking about, probably is on the shelf.
Stable.
Shelf stable. Once you open it, you refrigerate it, but it's on the shelf with the salsas.
And we'll do is like corn chips, and some salsa with the pulled pork tacos. It's a neat, good variety. And I think they call that, I was looking at the recipe and I saw it says whole Boston butt. So that is called the Boston butt is what it's called. Okay. So, maybe some Bostonians out there can tell us where that came from. I don't know.
Comment below if you are from Boston and tell us why it's Boston butt and a pork shoulder.
I have no idea.
Well, I will post this recipe along with the tips, along with any changes. Thank you for all of that. I love those detailed tips because somebody that's made it dozens of times, you look at a recipe, you read a recipe, but hearing that makes it so much easier to feel like, okay, I can do this and I can make it successful. So thank you very much.
So I have done it, like I'll smoke it on the smoker sometimes, the first 4 hours to give it flavor, then just put it in the oven before I go to bed or something. And that gives it a little more smoky flavor. I was trying to think, there's another little... so for pulled pork tacos sometimes, after I shred it, I'll have it on a big pan that's like where the meat's all spread out on a really thin layer. And then I'll sprinkle some of that seasoning on top and sometimes maybe put it in the oven just to get it a little bit more, I'll just put the seasoning on top. Okay. That gives it a little bit more flavor and just a little burst of flavor on it when you're putting the pulled pork taco. So I've done that. And I found that really tastes well.
That sounds delicious. I'm going to have to go home and make this weekend. Invite some company over, and this is going to be the menu. Do you have a tip, a piece of advice for welcoming people into your home?
I think just doing it. Sometimes I know, we have 4 kids, and we all get busy. You get tired and just like, we don't want to do this. And sometimes it's just getting out and doing it, inviting people over. I've found a lot of times, a lot of times your invitations get shot down, probably greater than 50% of the time. So just invite people. If they come, it's a blessing, and then don't stress over it. It doesn't have to be perfect, just, I've cooked this same recipe and, it's not done in time, and I got it out, and I just got it and started chunking it up in little bitty chunks, and it eats great. No one knows the difference. It wouldn't fall off the bone, and it works really great. I've done the same thing. I've got this pulled pork and chopped it in chunks and thrown it in the crock pot all day. You can do it so many different ways, so just don't stress about the results. It's about the fellowship. The food's just kind of brings people together.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And finally, what is your must-have kitchen item, and where can we find it?
Man, that's a hard one there.
There's probably lots, but give us one.
So I guess we're excluding things like a certain seasoning, a certain, food, because, butter and salt are like the most staples in life.
For all of you people who grew up on margarine, I will pray for you.
Yes, it took me.
Butter is where it's at.
Exactly. It took me a long time to convince my mother-in-law to get away from the margarine, but when she has, she's not going back. I don't know how people other parts of the country are who still fall on the low-fat type thing, but butter is where it's at.
Let's just say that God created cows, which create butter. There's not quite a clear path to margarine. So I'm not quite sure how margarine is made.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what else besides butter and salt?
Yeah, I would say what I use a lot and I really find convenient is, I always have a cast iron skillet on the stovetop. That's one. And then when they came out with these large cast iron skillets, were basically the gas griddles or the big cooktops, like the 36-inch cooktops, I use that a lot because you can cook a lot of food really quickly. Instead of sitting there flipping pancakes for the kids or a guest over, you can cook 20 pancakes and they're all done at one time. You can cook, several packs of bacon, hamburgers, and the stir fry. Just you can do so many things. And you can have different temperatures and cook certain things, quicker on one end versus the other end, maybe less quick. So, yeah.
And he's specifically talking about an outdoor gas griddle that he found at Sam's Club. Their brand is Members Mark 4-burner outdoor gas griddle. They sell it for a couple of $100s. You can get various sizes and models at other places. It's possible Costco has one online, but again, you could shop around. And we'll put a link to a couple of places that you could find one. My favorite thing that he served on here, which this could be a whole nother episode about inviting people over and a great meal, but I'll give you a bonus tip. It was the breakfast burritos. Breakfast burritos. This big griddle on one end. He's sauteing the peppers and onions, and another spot he's cooking eggs. Another spot there's sausage browning, and then we buy the raw tortillas. And just, I don't know if you find them in the refrigerator section. And they only have to cook about 30 seconds on each side, and they are delicious and just have a different flavor than the ones you find in the package pre-cooked just sitting in the grocery store. And he had all that going up and down one side down and down the other side of that griddle.
Get a big bowl, toss it in there, and ready to go.
And it was all hot at the same time, and we all sat out on the picnic tables outside, a couple of different families, and had hot breakfast burritos straight off the griddle. And it keeps all the heat and the mess outside easy to clean up too.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're cooking all the bacon and all the stuff that's, the grease that's coming off outside. You just don't have any of the mess. And there's some attachment I enjoy at cooking outside. It's like camping and cooking. Like you're out in nature, like you're one with nature, and your food's there. I don't know. We eat out on the back porch a lot. We have a table back there, and I think that's just a neat experience.
It is. It really is.
I will add, if Bess, you don't mind,
sure,
a
little
saving technique like on the rub. So if you don't make the rub yourself, which requires like cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, chili powder, salt, which I use kosher salt. That's very important. Not just the iodized salt, just the larger kosher salt, ground pepper, paprika, and then brown sugar, and then there's a little cayenne pepper. I use a lot less of that than what's called for. If you don't have all those, you can buy just a rub that's made for pork, and I use Head Country. So we find that at the large stores as well in a big container. But I buy most of those seasonings right there in the larger big containers, and you can they're pretty much 1-to-1 all over equal parts, and besides the brown sugar and the cayenne, and you just dump them all together, and you have this large amount. So, yeah, it's easy to do. Or you can just buy, if you want a little tip of saving time, you don't want to mix all that together, just buy one of those Head Country ones, and it's pretty close. It's real close.
Okay. Well, I'll be sure and put kosher salt on your recipe to
Yeah, it's
remind
not on there.
everybody.
Those are those little things that you just grow over the year and you don't add it to the recipe.
Yeah, it says salt, but we'll make sure we add kosher in parentheses. Yeah. But like you say, if somebody just wants to try it out before committing to mixing up the whole dry rub themselves, they could easily buy one pre-made. That's also a time-saving tip, although it's not hard to throw together as seasoning.
Yeah, and you see that I did mark out the tablespoon of cayenne pepper and a teaspoon. It's still a teaspoon's probably a little much. It's a lot.
Yes. Especially if you're serving children of any size.
And I don't
Most
know,
kids don't like cayenne.
I'm sure this is someone's recipe they put out on the internet 10, 20 years ago. And I've kind of adapted it. So whoever's recipe that might come across this and go, yeah, that's mine, then, I give you the credit. I'm not going to take any credit for this. So.
Well, but you've made enough changes and we will update it to where it is actually your recipe. So Thank you so much for sharing it with us and all of your tips, all of your time savers. I'm excited about this menu, and I know the listeners are going to be too.
It's pretty tasty. I never get tired of it. I've cooked it so many times, and every time I look forward to it. And then, a lot of times you have leftovers, and you just eat it for the next day.
Well, every time I'm invited over, I ask what's going to be on the menu, and I'm hoping I hear pulled pork. So I never get tired of it either. All right. Well, thank you for joining us for another episode, and we can't wait to have you back next time. Bye.